Hey fam, how y'all doing today? Welcome back to History Highlights with Laney. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. In this video, we will highlight Al Capone, one of the men that helped make Chicago famous.
Al Capone was an American Prohibition-era gangster who dominated organized crime in Chicago from 1925 to 1931 and became perhaps the most famous gangster in the United States. Capone's parents immigrated to the United States from Naples in 1893. Al, the fourth of 9 children, grew up in Brooklyn, New York. He attended school until the 6th grade, whence he dropped out at age 14 after striking a teacher. He worked a variety of odd jobs as a candy store clerk, a bowling alley pin boy, a laborer in an ammunition plant, and a cutter in a book bindery, all while serving in the South Brooklyn Ripers and 40 Thieves Juniors 2 kid gangs, that is, bands of delinquent children known for vandalism and petty crime that were common in New York at the time. Capone also became a member of the James Street Boys gang during this period, which was run by Johnny Torrio, the man that will become his lifelong mentor and associated with the 5 Points gang. At age 16, Capone became a member of the 5 Points gang and served aspiring mobster Francesco Aioli, Toro's associate, more commonly known as Frankie Yale, as a bartender in Yale's brothel salon, the Harvard Inn. Before Capone turned 21, he was involved in several violent incidents. In a youthful scrape at the Harvard Inn, a young hoodlum named Frank Galuccio slashed Capone with a knife or razor across his left cheek after Capone made a crude comment to Galuccio's sister, prompting the later nickname Scarface. Capone later shot the winner of a neighborhood craps game to death as he robbed him of his winnings. Despite being questioned by the police, Capone was let go because no one witnessed the murder. In another incident, Capone brutally assaulted a low-level member of the rival White Hand Gang and left him for dead. Since White Hand Gang leaders promised retribution, Yale sent Capone, his wife, and his young child to Chicago to work for Torrio. Torrio had moved from New York to Chicago in 1909 to help run the giant brothel business under Chicago crime boss Big Jim Colosimo. Shortly after Capone's arrival in the city in 1919, Colosimo was assassinated by either Yale or Capone himself in 1920 to make way for Torrio's rule. As Prohibition began, new bootlegging operations opened up and drew in immense wealth. In 1924, Capone was responsible for the murder of Joe Howard in retribution for Howard's earlier assault of one of Capone's friends. William McSwagan, an aggressive prosecutor, attempted but failed to indict Capone when the eyewitnesses to the killing, fearing harm, lost the nerve and denied remembering the incident. Later that year, Torrio and Capone enlisted Yale and other associates to murder gang leader Dion O'Banion in his flower shop. O'Banion's associates, Haim West and George Bugs Moran, were unsuccessful in their attempt to kill Torrio in early 1925. After a stint in prison, Torrio retired to Italy and Capone became crime czar of Chicago, running gambling, prostitution, and bootlegging rackets, and expanding his territories by gunning down rivals and rival gangs. In 1926, Capone went into hiding for 3 months after he and some of his gunmen inadvertently killed McSwagan while attacking other rivals. That evening, McSwagan had been out drinking with 2 childhood friends who were also beer runners and other criminals when he was gunned down in the street. Again, Capone went unpunished. His wealth in 1927 was estimated at close to $100 million. The most notorious of the bloodlettings was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, in which 7 members of Bug Moran's gang were machine-gunned in a garage on Chicago's North Side on February 14, 1929. Also, in 1929, Capone served some 10 months in Holmesburg Prison in Philadelphia after being convicted of possessing a concealed handgun. Many Americans were fascinated by the larger-than-life image of Capone. Indeed, the motion picture Scarface, The Shame of a Nation, directed by Howard Hawks, starred Paul Mooney in the role of a gangster, loosely based on Capone, who reputedly obtained a copy of the film for private screenings. On June 5, 1931, Capone was indicted for 22 counts of federal income tax evasion for the years 1925 through 1929. On June 12th, Capone and others were charged with conspiracy to violate prohibition laws for the years 1922 to 1931. In October, Capone was tried, found guilty on 3 of the 23 counts, and sentenced to 11 years in prison and $50,000 in fines and court costs. He entered Atlanta Penitentiary in May 1932, but was transferred to the new Alcatraz prison in August 1934. In November 1939, suffering from the general deterioration of paresis, a late stage of syphilis, he was released and entered a Baltimore hospital. Later, he retired to his Florida estate, where he died from cardiac arrest in 1947, a powerless recluse.
So, there you have it. A little bit of history on Al Capone. Be well, stay safe, and stay in peace, not pieces. Word of the year, forward, forward, forward. Love y'all, fam. See you soon.